Hey guys, my name is Virginia. A little bit of background on me and how I got to where I am today. I started off my career at UNF pre-med. I was a biology major. A long kind of chain of events led to me changing that major to a graphic design major. And then through the graphic design major, I had to take a 3D class that introduced me to clay, and the rest is history, I guess, as they say. Here are some pictures of me with that first clay project in my 3D class. That project drove me crazy. I couldn't stand it. It collapsed on me, I think it was 7 times. It was truly the bane of my existence at that time, and for whatever reason, I told myself that I had to complete it and make a piece that I was satisfied with. Like I had it in my head that I had to defeat this project. And once I did, I vowed to myself that I could happily never touch clay again. So I made this piece, and I think it was 3 days later, I was back playing in clay just for fun. So my 3D professor at the time set up a meeting with me and Trevor Dunn and Stephen Haywood, the UNF ceramics professors, I think a week later, and I changed my major the next day, I think. Something crazy like that. I don't want to spend a lot of time on early work, but these next 2 slides are different pictures of work that I made early on in my ceramics career. At the time, I feel like I was experimenting with the medium and figuring out where I wanted to go with it and the different ways that I was able to push it in. I think it's very important to say that I am both a sculptural artist and a functional artist. So I make both sculptures and then traditional pottery like plates, bowls, cups, dinnerware. So this is a picture of a large frog that I made kind of just for fun, testing the waters, seeing what I was capable of and what the medium would allow me to do with it. This is an early mug of mine. It is probably one of the last pieces of mine that you'll see gas-fired. Around the time that I made this mug, I had started experimenting with the wood firing process, which is a final firing process where pots are put into an atmospheric kiln that is heated to temperature with wood, and the wood ash goes through the kiln, and when it hits the pots, the atmosphere is so hot that the wood ash turns to glass, and so the glaze and the finish on the pot is due to the melted wood ash. So that has been kind of my sole focus ever since I started experimenting with it. It is a lot of the inspiration for my work, and so I will get into wood firing on my next slide. So for reference, this is a picture of a wood kiln. The pots go in the center part. The right side is the firebox where the wood goes, and then the left side is the chimney where all the smoke goes out. This shot is taken on the other side of the wood kiln, where you can see the door that allows us to get into the body of the kiln. In this picture, we are loading the kiln and stacking up all of the pots on shelves. I think I love wood firing for a million reasons, but for starters, it is a very long, very time and energy consuming process that requires 24/7 around the clock attention. Firing can take anywhere from 48 hours to 74 hours, I think is the longest firing I've participated in at UNF. But I feel that this process allows a real intimacy between the artist and their piece, because it it is exhausting. The process is exhausting. It is exhilarating. It's thrilling, and I really feel like it is kind of like a lot of like the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into a piece. Like for me, that is really seen in wood firing. It's also like a very natural kind of earthy process. I like how incorporated the flame is in the finished product. The artist doesn't have a lot of control over what the piece turns out in regards of the finished look. That is kind of, some people say, in the hands of the kiln gods. It depends on the flame work and how the atmosphere interacts with the surface of the piece during the firing. I started making these forms around the time that COVID hit in 2020. I have always pulled inspiration from biology, specifically like molecular biology and cells coming together and pulling apart. But I feel like these forms in particular, like this time of me as an artist in ceramics was pretty, like it was like a turning point, because I felt like for the first time I felt fulfilled as an artist, where my art was kind of aligned, or what I was making was aligned with my vision for what I wanted to make. Like my inspiration and the actual product of my work felt cohesive and made sense. The next 6 slides are different variations of those past 2 forms I just showed you, and the different ways I expanded and changed and varied them. These next 4 slides are pictures of some of my functional work. Keep in mind that all of these surfaces that you are seeing are products of wood firing. I also really love that I get to be a part of every process when it comes to wood firing. So not only do I get to mix the clay, make the pot, fire the pot, flip the pot, fire the pot again, I get to source the wood, split the wood, fire, and then fire the wood. So it just allows me to feel very connected to the ceramic process. I've included some in-studio action shots on the next 2 slides, just for reference of what it looks like when I am making in the studio. Thanks for listening to me talk about this thing I love so much. I've got a lot of gratitude and appreciation towards Stephen Haywood and Trevor Dunn for teaching me and supporting me throughout this process.